There's a quiet belief many of us carry into older age that if we keep walking, we're doing enough. Walking feels natural, safe, familiar, almost symbolic of staying alive and independent. But after the age of 75, the body begins to change in ways that walking alone can no longer fully address. Bones lose density not because they are weak, but because they are no longer asked to adapt. Muscles shrink not from laziness, but from lack of challenge. Balance fades not from age itself, but from the nervous system receiving fewer signals that demand precision. An orthopedic surgeon sees this not as failure, but as a predictable biological response, and biology, once understood, can be guided rather than feared. Walking is excellent for circulation and mental clarity, yet it places limited demand on strength, joint stability, and neuromuscular coordination. After 75, the skeleton needs gentle resistance to remind bone cells to stay active. Muscles need intentional loading to preserve the ability to rise from a chair, climb steps, or catch the body during a stumble. The joints require controlled movement through full ranges to maintain lubrication and alignment. Without these signals, the body quietly downscales its capacity, conserving energy at the cost of resilience. The nervous system also plays a central role. Balance is not stored in the legs alone, but in the brain's ability to integrate vision, inner ear signals, and muscle feedback. Simple strength and balance exercises awaken this dialogue, training reflexes that walking rarely challenges. These movements rebuild confidence, not through motivation, but through measurable neurological adaptation. What replaces walking is not intensity or exhaustion, but intention. Slow, controlled strength movements, chair-based resistance, gentle balance drills, and purposeful posture work create a language the aging body still understands. This approach respects joints, protects bones, and restores function without strain. Aging, seen through an orthopedic lens, is not about doing more, but about doing what the body now requires. When movement becomes targeted rather than habitual, the body responds with stability, strength, and a renewed sense of trust in itself. After 75, bones and muscles require resistance signals that walking alone does not provide. Muscle loss and joint instability come from under-stimulation, not age itself. Balance depends on neurological training, not just leg movement or endurance. Controlled strength and stability exercises protect joints and reduce fall risk. Intentional movement rebuilds confidence, function, and independence in advanced age. After the age of 75, the human body changes in ways that are both subtle and profound, especially in bones and muscles. These tissues are living systems that constantly adapt to the signals they receive. For most of life, daily activities like walking, climbing stairs, or carrying groceries provide enough stimulus to maintain strength and density. However, as aging progresses, this baseline level of movement is no longer sufficient to tell the body to hold on to muscle mass and bone strength. Walking is excellent for circulation, balance, and mental health, but it produces only low-impact, repetitive forces. Bones and muscles respond best to resistance, meaning forces that challenge them beyond their comfort zone and create small, controlled stresses. Without these signals, the body assumes that extra muscle and dense bone are unnecessary and gradually reduces them to save energy. After 75, this process accelerates due to hormonal changes, reduced protein synthesis, and slower recovery. Muscle fibers shrink, reaction times slow, and bones lose mineral density, increasing the risk of falls and fractures. Walking alone does not load the skeleton enough to stimulate bone-building cells, nor does it activate fast-twitch muscle fibers that are critical for preventing falls. Resistance-based movements, such as lifting light weights, using resistance bands, or even controlled bodyweight exercises, send a clear message to the nervous system and skeletal structure that strength is still required for survival. These signals help preserve independence by maintaining the ability to stand up from a chair, carry objects, and stabilize the body during sudden movements.
Importantly, resistance does not mean heavy or dangerous. For older adults, it means intentional effort, progressive challenge, and consistency. Even short sessions performed a few times per week can slow or partially reverse age-related decline. When muscles pull against resistance, they communicate directly with bones, triggering adaptive responses that walking simply cannot provide. Over time, this leads to improved posture, better balance, and greater confidence in daily movement, reinforcing a positive cycle where strength supports activity and activity supports longevity. Muscle loss and joint instability are often accepted as unavoidable signs of aging, but biology tells a different story. Age alone does not instruct the body to weaken, inactivity does. Muscles and joints are governed by a principle of adaptation, meaning they remodel themselves based on how they are used. When movement becomes limited, repetitive, or too gentle, the nervous system reduces its investment in strength and stability. After the mid-70s, many people move less not because their bodies are incapable, but because their routines no longer challenge the system. This under-stimulation quietly signals that powerful muscles and resilient joints are no longer necessary. Muscle tissue depends on regular activation to maintain its size and coordination. Without sufficient stimulus, muscle fibers shrink, motor units become less responsive, and strength declines. Joints follow a similar pattern. Stability is not provided by bones alone, but by the surrounding muscles, tendons, and connective tissues working together under load. When these structures are rarely challenged, they lose their capacity to absorb force and control motion. This leads to stiffness, poor alignment, and a higher risk of injury, which is then mistakenly blamed on age rather than lack of appropriate stimulation. Scientific observations show that even in advanced age, muscles retain the ability to grow stronger when given the right signals. Older adults who introduce resistance and varied movement patterns often regain joint control, improve balance, and reduce pain. This happens because the body is being reminded of its original design, to adapt, not to deteriorate. Movement diversity, load, and intention reactivate communication between muscles and the brain, restoring coordination and confidence. When joints feel unstable or muscles feel weak, it is rarely a sign that the system is worn out beyond repair. More often, it reflects a long period of being under-challenged. By reintroducing purposeful stress in safe and gradual ways, the body responds with renewed strength and stability, demonstrating that decline is not dictated by age, but how the body is asked to move through it. Balance is often misunderstood as a simple product of strong legs or the ability to walk for long distances, but its true foundation lies in the nervous system. Every moment of balance is a conversation between the brain, the inner ear, the eyes, and the sensory receptors in the joints and muscles. These systems constantly exchange information about position, motion, and force. When this communication is clear and well practiced, the body moves with confidence. When it is neglected, balance fades even if the muscles themselves remain capable of movement. Walking, especially at a steady and predictable pace, does little to challenge this neural network. The brain quickly memorizes the pattern and begins to operate on autopilot. Over time, the sensory pathways responsible for detecting subtle shifts in weight, changes in surface, or unexpected movements become less responsive. Balance then feels fragile, not because the legs are weak, but because the brain is no longer receiving sharp, accurate feedback. This is why falls often occur during simple tasks like turning, reaching, or stepping sideways, rather than during straight-line walking. Neurological balance training involves exposing the nervous system to controlled uncertainty. Small changes in stance, direction, speed, or visual input force the brain to stay alert and adaptable. These challenges strengthen the reflexes that keep the body upright before conscious thought can intervene. With repetition, the brain improves its ability to predict and correct movement errors, making balance more automatic and less effortful. Research shows that even in advanced life, the nervous system remains highly adaptable. When balance is trained intentionally, improvements occur not only in stability, but also in reaction time and confidence. The body begins to trust itself again, reducing fear-driven stiffness that further disrupts coordination. True balance emerges not from endurance alone, but from a well-trained neural system that knows how to respond to the unpredictable moments of everyday movement. As the body ages, joints become less forgiving to sudden forces, awkward angles, and uncontrolled movements. What protects them is not rest and not endless repetition of light activity, but strength that is calm, deliberate, and well guided by the nervous system. Controlled strength and stability exercises teach the body how to manage force rather than avoid it. They train muscles to support joints